Natalie Sideserf here of Sideserf Cake Studio, and I'm going to show you how I made a pregnant lady emoji cake. This cake was made for a birthday, so it's chocolate. However, I think this would be the perfect opportunity to do a gender reveal cake. You could add pink cake in there, or blue cake, or whatever color cake, reveal the gender, and it's super fun. I really hope you like this video, and if you do like this video, subscribe to our channel. And we also have Patreon, so you can become a patron at patreon.com/sideserfcakes. So let's get this pregnant lady party started. We're starting out with a black cake board. I put some chocolate ganache down and then a piece of parchment paper, and then I have my stencil drawn out as well. Here I have some chocolate cake. I place the stencil right over top, and then I carve around the stencil. Next comes a layer of chocolate ganache. You can use buttercream, whatever fillings you'd like. And then a second layer of cake. I already carved out the cake on this one, and I also left out the hair. And that's because the hair is only on the bottom. I would carve it away anyway, so might as well keep it off. Now I'm just taking a small serrated knife and I'm rounding out the edges, around her arm, her belly, and just making everything nice and smooth based on the images that I have pulled up of the pregnant lady emoji. This one's actually somewhat detailed. You can really start to see her shape as far as the cake sculpting goes. You can see where her chin is, where her hair is. She's got her belly and then her arm. Then I'll go in and add a crumb coat of chocolate ganache. This is just a thin layer of chocolate ganache that covers the entire cake. I use an offset spatula to get the ganache on there. Then I use a bendable smoother to smooth out the entire cake. With a blade, I'm gonna cut away the parchment. And now we've got a nice clean cake board. Some people like to cover their cake boards in fondant or other edible materials, and that's totally cool. I like doing that sometimes, but I also like to keep it simple. So for this cake, I just have a painted black cake board, and I'm gonna add some edible bits later. To start out covering the cake, I actually want to add a little nose. This is just with some chocolate. And then I placed the neck modeling chocolate down. And then finally, one piece of rolled out modeling chocolate that covers the entire face. Then I take a blade and I just trim away some of that excess modeling chocolate. And I work the chocolate into the shape of the face. Here I took a stencil, I mapped out where the eyes are going to be, and I'm using a sculpting tool to just kind of mark the size of the eyes and the shape of the eyes. I want to make sure that they're not too high, not too low, they're the perfect width, and they look just like the emoji. And then I do the same for the mouth. You just take a food safe sculpting tool and you draw some lines. This is when you can kind of goof up and blend things because you're really just making marks, you're not really digging in too deep. Next, I'm gonna start covering the hair. So I took some brown modeling chocolate and I'm covering the back of the hair first. So the hair that's behind her shoulders. Then I'm going to take a larger piece of modeling chocolate. I'm going to cover the majority of the head. Since I'm making a 2D image 3D, this is a really great way to add some depth without overcomplicating it. And I go in with a sculpting tool and I blend, 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 always blending. And I do the same for the other side. Starting with the hair that's behind her shoulder, cover that with some modeling chocolate, then take a larger piece of modeling chocolate and have that go over her face for her bangs and for the top of her hair. Once it's on there, you can take a blade and trim away some of that excess modeling chocolate. Next comes her clothes. She has a purple shirt on, so I work the modeling chocolate over her body. You can see in the center, I pinched the chocolate, trimmed it away, and blended it. So typically I try to avoid that, but in this case, the way that it actually set on the body, it had a fold right in the front. But because we're using modeling chocolate, that's totally fine because you can see it blends really easily. Now, if this was fondant, I would try to avoid something like that because fondant doesn't blend as easily. Next, I'm kind of tweaking the hair a little, cleaning it up, defining the bangs a little bit more. You can see I have a few little dents and I'm adding little bits of modeling chocolate just to shape the hair. Then comes the eyelashes, or maybe this is kind of like a brown eyeliner. It's just a line only going over the top of the eye. And this is also modeling chocolate. Now I'm going to add the whites of the eyes. I just took a blob of modeling chocolate, I place it on, and I work it into the eye shape. Then the other eye, I'm doing the exact same thing. When you're working at this scale, because it's so small, typically it's easier to work with fondant. I'm using modeling chocolate because that's what I have available. I use modeling chocolate all the time, so I don't always have fondant on hand. However, if you decide that you want to use fondant, not only is that doable, but that's actually preferred because it's a lot easier to work on a small scale with fondant than it is modeling chocolate. Next comes the eyes. So I have a pea-sized piece of brown modeling chocolate. I place it on the eye and I work it into the circular shape. Then comes the pupil. So this emoji's pupils are pretty darn large. So I'm working it out to the edges, just leaving a little bit of that brown iris showing. I do that to both eyes. You could absolutely go and grab some round cutters that are the exact size that you want the eyes to be. I just like to do it this way. I guess it would be a little bit more difficult, but I prefer it. I just get very impatient. I don't want to go out and find the perfect circular shaped cutters. So I just like to kind of make the shape with my hands. And I'm just adding modeling chocolate eyebrows. Actually, only eyebrow, because the other eyebrow is actually hidden behind her hair. A unibrow. And I'm shaping the arm with the modeling chocolate that's already there. Because you don't need a ton of it. You just want to create the sleeve shape, but you don't need to really add more chocolate. Next comes a modeling chocolate hand. I want to make sure I have the thumb shape and then the fingers, but I'm not going to go in and sculpt individual fingers quite yet. I'm just getting the shape correct, placing it onto the body. And then I'll blend and shape the hand more. To create the fingers, I actually just took a pointed tool and scored some little marks. I like to keep it simple. It's just a cartoon hand, so it doesn't have to be too complicated. There's the scoring. For the other hand, again, I'm just kind of shaping a mitten shape. Then I took a blade and I actually did cut out those individual fingers. And that's because when I was looking at the emoji, you could see that they were separated more. Keep it simple, it's cartoon, so it doesn't have to be too complicated. Really, the main thing with the hands is you want to make sure they're the same size. Then I'm going in and I want to add some shadows. I think that the emoji looks pretty great the way it is, but I did notice that there are some shadows around her hair and around her face, and so I just wanted to replicate that. You don't absolutely have to do this part, but I just find it fun. I want it to look as much like the emoji as possible. The key to this is you want to make it very subtle. So these shadows are not too dark. And they blend very quickly. It's just like a line and then it blends right away. It's not necessarily about realism, it's more like a drop shadow. She also has it around her face where her hair is casting a shadow. She also had some highlights in her hair. So literally, it's just white blobs. Then I'm gonna go in and add some darker purple areas of her shirt. Blend that out. And then finally, there are some white highlights in her shirt too. So this is for a birthday. I'm going to write "Happy Birthday, Mama," and I'm going to cut it out as if this was a text message. So I added the text and I also added some balloons, and there you have it. Pregnant Lady Emoji Cake. This would be great for a gender reveal, you guys. If anybody wants to order this cake as a gender reveal cake, please let me know. You can place your order at sideserfcakes.com. I'm dying to do it. You gotta live in Texas though, guys. Sorry.